find that I have those positive thoughts and I'm like, yes, when I go to dinner I'm going to do this and I'm not going to eat rice or whatever. But then I get there and I go, I'll just have some.
Yep.
And so I've got the positive thoughts and how I'm going to do it and my plan, but then I get there and I don't do it.
Okay, so that's a really good one. Is I'm not going to eat rice, is that a helpful thought or an unhelpful thought?
Unhelpful.
Because what type of thinking is that?
Negative.
Yeah, and what else?
It's too black and white.
So it's not a positive thought and I'm thinking
Better to say
it
was a small amount.
That's right. So let's recap. So the situation is you're going out, do things like that. I'm not going to have dessert. I'm not going to have carbs. I'm not going to have alcohol. Right, okay. So that may work for some people. But if you keep going back and overdoing it, what do you need to do? What's the thinking and planning strategy that needs to happen there? Portion caution. I've infected you all. Because what's your
Because I think boredom can set in.
Yes,
When
definitely.
you become that rigid, because I can be very rigid boredom's the thing you've got to watch out for.
Absolutely, because if you just lock yourself in it, and it's sometimes if you don't give yourself permission, the 3-year-old comes out and you go, no, I'm having rice. So what's your overall goal? What's your intention when you go away and go out and go, I'm not going to have rice, which you thought was very positive, but it's stinging at its tail. What's your overall aim? Let's go back to why on earth would you do that? What were you trying to achieve with that sort of strategy?
I don't even know really. I just say I'm just not going to
Do it.
I haven't
Okay.
really thought about it actually.
Right, so.
I'm not very helpful, am I? Sorry.
No, this is
I'm sorry. I'm hearing you. Very helpful.
I actually would prefer questions because it make me very, very nervous if everyone went, yes, it's all fine and dandy. It's not. So remember we're learning about processes and an outcome. So your outcome might be, I want to maintain my fitness. Whatever your goal is one of those categories portion caution? Okay, is it food avoidance?
Or
Should avoid that.
Yeah.
Have you got that as one of your goals?
Is it it should be? Does that work? What does Dr.
It
Phil
does.
say?
It does. Like in the beginning, I went really well, but I've just not anymore.
Okay, so you believe you're not doing very well anymore? Are you back at the beginning? Have you gone back? Okay.
No, I haven't. I'm just very negative because I've had a really bad week.
Yeah, okay. So the good thing is, can you see that habits, our default might go back to that negative way of thinking, or what's the point? So it's always going to be there, and it's going to lie dormant in your system kind of thing, but it will come up. But if you can just actually catch yourself thinking like that, and if one of your categories is portion caution, I've got that for my whole life. I have to watch what I do. If I don't have an idea, then I'll just go this way, and even though I'm a dietitian, I'm a human being. So for you it might be, if one of my categories is not food avoidance, is it portion caution? So when you go out, a shades of grey way of thinking, well, what would be a strategy if you are going out going, I'm going to watch how much I eat? What's a more realistic way to actually maybe help you to achieve that sort of little goal? What could you do? For some people, avoiding rice might work. If it's not working,
You could decide to have a small bit,
yeah.
but you could also
Thinking about what you actually have to do.
Yeah. So being mindful of it.
yeah, being mindful.
Or maybe if you like the rice, look at what else might be on offer that you would not have instead. You know,
So
like you want to
compensation.
get a bit of rice,
Mm.
forget about whatever else, you know, I'm not going to have the entree, I'm just going to enjoy the rice.
Yep.
I sometimes look at when I'm going out for dinner, like say it's pizza, and I look at what I'm having for breakfast
Yep.
and lunch,
Yep.
and make sure I don't have too much bread,
Yeah.
so I can enjoy my pizza.
So it's compensation. So it might be, so you don't feel like you're missing out. It's one of the biggest barriers that people think about, I know from asking patients or clients, is I'm going to miss out. Everyone else is having rice or everyone else is having wine. Does that make sense? Oh, I'm going to miss out. So if you feel like you're going to miss out, of course you're going to tuck into some rice. So it might be exactly like you're saying, if we're all having entree and I'm having some rice paper rolls or whatever, I'll have my carbs there, or maybe I won't have rice because I'm allowing myself. So usually one of the thoughts that you could put in place is, I give myself permission to have some carbs, but will I get it from the alcohol, will I get it from the rice, will I get it from the entree? contract. So that's a shades away kind of thinking. And you do the crime, you do the time. I will make sure I go to that class.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You can say I'm going to walk for an extra half hour tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Who else thinks like that?
That's all right.
Yeah, that's normal. But if you don't have a strategy in place, you'll go back to the default of, yeah, it didn't work. It's never the person that fails. You've got to go back to that little cycle here and go, well, if the strategy works, brilliant, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, how is that working for you? How do you feel? Then you've got to think about something else. And trial and error. It might take you 3 or 4 attempts to finally nail it. But the minute you say, put rules on yourself, the 3-year-old will come around and rebel. Or you can be too liberal and go, I'm going to have whatever I want because the challenge is over. That's also a negative thought. So you've got to pull yourself in. Thoughts can have a sting in their tail like, I can't do this or I can't have it. Or they can be, she'll be right. Bit of extra, a bit of pizza won't mind. There's no calories in it and a sliver of cake. And if that happens over and over again, you're getting back into that pattern, which is more of a neutral thought. It doesn't sound so negative, but it's actually causing unhelpful behaviour. So can you see that thoughts can be neutral or negative? So maybe I would suggest, it doesn't matter what your goal is, whether it's to be happy, maintain fitness or energy, one of the categories under maybe caution or exercise is thinking strategy that you might have to repeat most days. Or if you feel that you're deviating, think about how you're thinking and think about, do I have a plan or do I need to change the plan? Because life's changing. You've got family, kids don't come in a timetable or training manual. Things change every day. You just have to learn to adapt. Or maybe not to put so much pressure on yourself. Other questions? That's a good one. Who feels confident? From what we've talked about today, you might sort of sit down and have a think about, well, what are my overall little categories I need to work on? Who feels confident that they might be able to keep persisting over time once the change is finished? And if not, then think about it's okay. You can just answer it yourself in your own mind. If not, think about what would help me be more confident. Is it, like you said, Mark, you realise pretty quickly in the challenge, Mark, that I need support from other people. So that's one of the strategies. So can you see that these sticking points can also be facilitators or enablers? So that could be a problem, family, but they also could be supportive.
And that's because, so the group know, because I live on my own.
Yeah.
I live on, so I could easily eat all day.
That's right. So it's
So I
very
live by
common.
myself, so I mean, I know I need support. I didn't really realise that Kathy's was the one that maybe probably blocked it out.
Yeah. So there you go. So hopefully for all of you, you realise what the sticking points are, but then these can actually be facilitators. So you realise the situation's an issue, well then you actually improve the situation. Or if you're thinking it's negative, change it into a positive. How do you boost your mood? We talked about emotional management techniques before. Or what about your behaviours? You may not know. I don't know what to do. Then you might ask us. So is it a knowledge thing or is it a confidence thing?
I hate to put it down on it, but when you read anything about dieting and losing weight, the statistics against you, putting, like maintaining it. Anybody that loses, and I know people my age, we've all gone up and down how many, every year or every few years,
Yes.
you tend to lose from, when you're 20.
That's right.
And I see it with my daughters the same, and one daughter's very slim, but her whole life is, and I think of from me, her whole thought process is her weight.
Okay. So what might be the problem there? That's a good point.
I think this is why the program is so good, because it doesn't just deal with the food and focus the thinking.
Yes, and
We find that that's a better approach.
So it's a really good point, and it's realistic, isn't it? So let's put reality in place that maybe the overall goal. Is it about weight? I have one client who kept saying to me, it's the weight, it's the most important thing. And the more she focused on the problem, she would do this spiral effect. So I said, what do you want out of losing extra kilos? And she said, I just want to be happy with myself. So contentment was the overall goal. And we know that in order to be content, you might have to improve your healthy food choices, do your exercise, but also come up with some other ideas of more me time. So sometimes you're actually focusing on the wrong outcome, the problem rather than the solution. The second thing I know from programs and challenges that People will lose weight, and then over a year, they'll regain plus 10% more. That's within about 5 years. That's for people who go on strict diets and challenges. So that's what the research is saying. But this challenge is different, and with a lot of research that's coming out now, what we're finding, look at the hair and tortoise shoot I said before, the average is 1 kilo a month. Now people find in a challenge you might lose a couple of kilos, you may not have been focusing on weight, but you might just accidentally lose some weight. Over the first week you might lose 1 or 2, and it's actually getting pretty quickly. But if you look over an average of a year, the average would be 1 kilo a month. And those people who actually do that keep weight off more, keep weight off longer than for people in programs who lose it quickly and absolutely right, they'll go back up like that. So that's black and white programs. Sometimes are designed for, which really irritates me. If you lose weight, you're successful. If you don't lose weight, well, there's something you've done right. So that's reinforcing that black and white thinking. So hopefully in this challenge, it's looking at shades of grey of, well, maybe we all need to lose some weight, but is that really the overall destination you want to get out of life? Probably not. It's really looking at, and maybe not even mentioning that word, what are the things I need to do in order to be content with myself? And if you're not raising the bar too high and saying, look, I've lost some weight and I'm plateauing a bit, that's fantastic. Your body's adjusting to it. As long as your trend's still doing this, you'll keep it off longer. And that research has just come out because we know that even health professionals have reinforced the wrong message of keep looking at the weight. It's not about that. It's about fitness, it's about quality of life. And you don't have to be a certain weight to actually have good health. The healthiest people I've seen have carried an few extra kilos because they've got more muscle rather than being quite low. So it's a good point, and this is the thing to think about. Am I sceptical of this? Why am I sceptical? Is it the wrong goal? Do I need to change my focus? And remember, one of the first talks I did was this one. And talking about, first of all, what is my goal or target? Is it realistic? And what do I want to achieve from it? So be more solution focused. What do I want to achieve rather than focusing on the problem? That's a good point.
It's funny because my goal wasn't to lose weight specifically. To feel better, sleep better, feel more energetic. But I always focus on how much I weigh. Always.
That's your default. That's okay. So all you have to do is you've discovered it, and we all have things we come back to. It's just looking at losing and monitoring weight's not a problem. It's just how we actually interpret that. So you can monitor the outcome of weight and fitness, but then begin to track behaviours, how you feel, things that you can see success in. So that's just something that quite often people go back to, as long as it doesn't actually undermine your success. If it does, then you have to sit down and go, well, I need to work on that. I need a strategy either with someone else, or maybe I need to regroup and go back to what I did when I first. So it's not going to be easy, we know that.
There's a lot of pressure, isn't there, on just the actual body image.
Yeah,
also, I think probably, well, I think more so this in the last 10, 15 years than I can ever recall. And the unrealistic body images that we're presenting.
Definitely.
And I don't think it helps people, especially women in a certain age group. I mean, there comes a point where wisdom kicks in.
Well,
can't possibly,
everything's going south.
I can't possibly look like that.
That's right,
and it's never going to happen. But I think if you're in the age group where you could possibly look like that, I think that must be extremely hard because just with your own way of thinking, plus having this bombarded at you.
Pressure from either family or the media, that's a situational barrier. I'm getting children younger and younger now. We're carrying extra weight, and then you have to really look at what I talk about is what do you want and what they want. Their outcome is to do neat tricks on their scooter or to keep up with their kids or be fit and happy. That's the only focus. We never talk about weight, and parents must look at it. That's what we're going to focus on. And how to actually be happier is to eat the colours of the rainbow, all your fruit and veg and be more active. So I'm trying to teach people at a young age because you've got this bombardment of messages. So it's hard. You just have to inoculate children.
Oh no, I was ready to fly away.
I think hallelujah.
Can I say something?
Just one last question, yes.
When my son was really little, he was in hospital, and we were in the same room with this little girl. She was about 7 years old, which is, roughly Lillian's age. And I said, oh, what are you in here for, honey? And she goes, I'm anorexic. I'm she had like stilettos on, tiny figure, like, and I could just see that, you know, she was wearing like a leopard print top, and I guess what I'm saying is that no, I know your shoes are nice. But she just to walk into the hospital to visit her daughter, she was like had the face on like everything. So I'm thinking, you know, my ways of thinking, like, you know, watching what I eat, will it? I guess that impact on the younger kids is hard.
And I guess you can't, someone mentioned it, I don't know if it was from this child or someone said, it's like your children, they go through this tunnel and you just hope they come out right.
Yeah.
You can prepare them and give them all the tools, and it does help, it really does. And you can help and reinforce the message. It's about fun, it's about happiness, really eating food to feel good about ourselves, nothing about weight, it's just being happy with the body you have.
I've just like noticed Lillian said to me, she was like, I'm going to stay skinny forever, Mum.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I've noticed girls are like that from about 6 or 7 in this area.
Yep.
And I know like kids that have grown up with my two, one's 8, one's 10, they've had eating disorders from year 1.
You see a lot of it.
That have just growing up going to our local school and so forth.
It's something you can't avoid, but I guess for you, as long as you keep reinforcing the message at home, and not to say, no, that's not true, just go, tell me a bit about that, and so what do we want? A healthy body, and as long as you reinforce that, hopefully that will see them through. And if you can nip things in the bud, if you start to see any issues, I've got parents that do come in and go, see some things going on, can we have a little bit of reinforcement and a bit of change? Then that's great. But it can't go away. It's just how you work on it as a family.
I think we expose them to it as well. Like there's been a few emails going around lately where there's superimposed pictures of these models, and there's one where she's actually missing her arm. So one of the arms on the picture, I think it's from a lingerie company from America, the Victoria's Secret. And there's the one where one of the teachers is actually, one of the models has got an arm missing. And I don't know whether it's a legit photo or whether it's a doctored email, but it's like, so I actually showed that to my kids and said, look, this is, you know, a picture that they doctored to make her look thinner and, you know, all the rest of it, and it's not real. And through showing them how it's not real and showing them how those sorts of programs work and that we can cut up and do off.
I think that's a good point. It's like sex education, you just talk about it. You talk about eating disorder. What do you think, and how do you think your body would go? I had one yesterday with an eating disorder, and she actually started to write the things down, like what's not working. I've got falling asleep at school, getting grumpy with mum and dad. Okay, so let's have a look at how can we change it. So it's actually putting it on the table and going, let's talk about what's in the magazines. Let's talk about sex education and all that. The more it's up in exposed, the more they're going to be honest with you. So the more honest you can have your children with yourself, I find just from personal experience, they're more likely to get out of it because they're more likely to actually tell the parents how they really feel and what's going on, rather than just going, we can't talk about that in this family. You talk about it and say, what do you think? Is that really healthy?
I suppose it's the use of language, what language you're using yourself. You're talking about dieting, talking, using those words and worrying about what the scale will be on your child. If you've got a child, I'll just soak that up and think
like Lillian idolises me sometimes, like she wants to be like me and do everything. So that's why. No, it's scary. But I'm just worried that if I'm always weighing myself and always saying, I can't eat that, that she's going to be like that. I guess.
It's got to be more about what you can
eat and a healthy option. But she's
But I think that's a good point of maybe it's just, I need to just watch what I say, so it's what I can eat, what I can't. We can have takeaway, but it's holiday time when we have takeaway, or you don't need to weigh yourself. It might be, well, maybe I'll just wait to go to the doctor's or wait till I go to Gary's sessions and I weigh myself here, but not to keep scales at home. And to go, oh God, I felt good. How do you feel after that meal? That's really good. And talk about the good things about foods rather than what you can't have. So if you can put a positive or a solution-focused spin on whatever you try to give to your children, they're going to have they'll put more energy into that rather than what they can't have.
I've got 2 grown boys who have never had a problem with eating. They'll eat whatever's put in front of them. I now have a 9-year-old who she will eat a bowl of vegetables with no meat. She won't eat meat. And we've got her involved in preparation. I'm not having that. I'm not having that. I know I've been into it. It's like, that's meat. You've got to have it, Jazz. You need to pick a little bit of chicken maybe. She won't finish it. She she might have a sausage on a sandwich or just a piece of bread without the sausage, or you know. So it's how I don't know how to get over that whole thing in her head of getting over the whole meat thing.
We just asked the question, what doesn't she like about the meats? It goes back to what's the sticking point. And I've had one child who literally just doesn't like the taste of meat, so we've had to look at, well, how else can you be healthy and have protein? And we give a list of cheese, eggs, tofu, lentils, and yeah.
It didn't help one day.
You might need to ask me about that one.
It didn't help one day. We were at my son's girlfriend's place and they had 2 pigs.
Okay. Oh.
That's
The next time she saw the pig, it was turning.
Oh.
That's recently. This has been going on for years.
Yeah.
So you know, it's like she's.
But it could be definite taste. Some people will do it for weight. I've seen others. Some it's for taste because I've seen them slaughter animals. But just I mean, see what if you need any help.
But
We had chickens too, and she used to eat chicken, so I don't know.
But I was with 2 women whose children are now grown, and they both, when they were I was 7, they went to a farm, and both they went to Gerringong Public, and they went to a farm as part of a school excursion. 2 of the little girls came back from that excursion, both walked into their separate homes and would never eat meat again. So something was triggered in their mind about the whole idea.
It's like food aversion. If you remember the time you were in hospital, it was just an unpleasant experience, or when you were sick, and taste food aversions can happen, and it happens through animals too.
You know, Rubes came home the other day and said, I'm going to be a vegetarian. And I'm like, okay, so no sausages, no beef, no, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh.
Yeah.
No chicken.
I thought vegetarian was just not eating sausages.
And he's like, I might have a think about that, I'll get back to you.
That's so is everyone happy with, what we'll do is send out an email of the exact